Today on the Sound Rider Show, we're going to be talking about the Vancouver Motorcycle Show. We also have a couple of great interviews from that show coming up.
In the next interview, which you haven't heard yet, I'm talking to Dat Louie from Pacific Riding School.
Cool.
And what they're doing is different in a lot of ways, teaching basic rider instruction. So I'm just going to cut over here to the interview and let it speak for itself. All right, I am sitting here at the Pacific Riding School booth at the Motorcycle Show here in Abbotsford, and I'm sitting with one of the head guys here, Dat Louie, and he's going to walk us through their program because it's a little bit different than what we know down in Washington or Oregon, Idaho. So say hi to everybody.
Hey guys.
And let's go walk through it.
Yeah, so we're going to give you a little introduction of how we do rider training here in British Columbia, Canada. And across Canada is a little bit different. Some places, provinces across Canada, is actually mandatory training. So if you go to the province of Quebec, where I'm originally from, it's not an option to simply go out and get your license at, I guess what you guys call DMV. They would basically have to go to a riding school. So I'm hoping that goes that way in British Columbia as well. Right now, we run a 28-hour program, which is divided by 3 segments. The first segment is 8 hours in the classroom, and then we do 10 hours in the parking lot training, and then we go 10 hours on the road. Now, I think
that's a little different from what we do down stateside. We don't go on the road, and I've always wanted to see that happen in our program. I'm really happy to hear you guys are doing that.
Yeah, I agree. So I think the road portion is a big component of it in putting it all together. Because if the students, we believe if the students just know the logistics of mechanically using the controls, they know how to use the clutch or throttle and stuff like that, you still need the strategies how to survive on the street, right?
And you do all that road training right in downtown Vancouver, right?
Oh, yeah, we go through right downtown Vancouver. So some of you guys watching, the guys have been to British Columbia. We go actually down Robson. So let me go through one section at a time so it does make a little more sense.
Sure.
So we spend 8 hours in the classroom. So the students spend about 2 hours in the classroom. So we're talking about, from basic controls, like where the controls are located. I mean, some of these people has never even touched a bike before. Then we show how the students, how the bikes were designed to be used. And let's face it, a lot of people are making up stuff. And we use what the manufacturers taught us. So a lot of us, all our instructors have been trained by, believe it or not, all our mentors are from the States. A big one is Reg Pridmore. He's trained me. I've been on his mentorship for 18 years down in Santa Barbara, California, who runs class motorcycle schools. And we start teaching our students a little bit about a lot about the controls, but most importantly, how to be the proper dance partner with the bike and to work with the bike, not against the bike. And once they understand that, it makes it a whole lot easier. Then once we go in the classroom, we also cover about the human body when it's stressed, what happens. All our instructors, Mark, my business partner, is Mark Kruger, they call him Kramer. He's 8-time Supersport champion here in British Columbia. And I've been lucky enough to train under a great mentor down in Washington State, Mike Sullivan, they call him Sully, down at Ken Washington, Centura, California. So we incorporate a lot of that in.
So you got a slideshow here, and let's walk through your slideshow because you do this really well audibly. They don't need to actually see the slides, but it's pretty good information. Let's do that.
So what we always tell people is that we show them our facilities, our training credentials, because the price of a course in Canada we're up at $866.25. That's tax in $825 basically what we're charging. So I know there's a big difference with Washington State how much you guys charge for students. And
is any of that sponsored by the state?
No, it's not. It's not. But we've been doing this for 25 years, and I think it took a long time to educate consumers that what you're paying for, because you're paying for our background, our training. That's a basic reason why. It's not just getting a motorcycle license. And
the training is required in the province, right?
No, it's actually optional right now.
Okay.
It is completely optional. So you go ahead and go straight to the DMV, what we call our motor vehicle branch, and challenge the test, the parking lot test, and then do a road test. Or you can attend a school. But I think the culture here in British Columbia is that training's part of it, that you need to get training. So, the culture of paying $800, and the difference is they're committing. If they're spending $800, they're buying a bike. And the great thing about it is that our industry, the manufacturers understand that too, that the students enroll in our course are buying a bike. Nobody's going to spend $800 and not buy a motorcycle. So that helps the industry as well.
Yeah.
And so we go through our credentials and everything. We are sponsored by Kawasaki, so I'm very proud to be sponsored by these guys. So they give us a variety of bikes to use to accommodate our students. We got guys who are interested in sport bikes to give us Ninja 300, 400s, cruisers, Vulcan 650s, Z650s or Z650s, you guys call them Washington State. And
Now,
KLX.
these larger bikes, like the 650, the Vulcan, is that used in a basic rider training, or use that more in like an intermediate?
We use the bigger bikes for the road. So once we go in the parking lot training, we only stick with the small bikes. So we have a fleet of 2018 KLX 250s. And once they go on the road, we start taking out the bigger bikes.
Oh, okay.
So we profile them at the beginning of the course, meaning that if they're going to buy a cruiser, we're going to steer build towards a cruiser bike on the road ride. Now, if Mary wants to buy a sport bike, we're going to steer them towards a Ninja 400 or 300. So at least when they transition and go buy a bike, it's a lot easier transition.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
And we got some bikes from Honda as well. We got sponsorship from these guys. We got CRF 250s, the CB 500s, and of course the Honda Rebels, which is an excellent beginner bike.
And am I looking at Africa Twin there too?
Yeah, they got an African Twin for us, for the instructors to use, and
okay.
And we do have students who are strong enough, meaning who have previous riding experience, who are taking the course. So we will get them to test run the African Twin, and we just picked up a V-Strom 650 this year as well from Suzuki. So the way the manufacturers see it, I think, which is brilliant on their part in British Columbia, is that we're conducting all these test rides, and we're actually screening who has the skills or who's looking for these bikes, as opposed to just somebody coming for a free test ride.
Yeah.
So it's really targeted towards the right segment of the market.
And then there's also you do a certified enduro course for BMW, I see.
Yeah, so we had Mark, my partner, went out to Germany and went through the enduro program out there. So he's a certified BMW instructor. So that helps a lot too. That anybody that wants to get into adventure riding, we have a compound that people can train on and get into dirt bike, because adventure riding, and a lot of people get a little intimidated going from pavement to dirt. So it's good.
Yeah, definitely.
And jacket-wise, even gear-wise, we make sure we educate everybody in riding with the proper gear.
So, what we're looking at here is a slide where all the students have actually ballistic jackets on, made by Joe Rocket. So you guys get everybody dressed in proper riding gear before they do the testing. And for us down in Stateside, it's blue jeans, it's long sleeve T-shirts, it's pretty lax, but it's not the best idea.
No, it's not the best idea, and I think right from the beginning, it's good to start educating these guys that right from the beginning of their riding career that they start wearing proper gear. I mean, the gear, people think gear is uncomfortable, it's too hot. I mean, there's a lot of perforated stuff out there. So through Joe Rocket, they give us a whole bunch of jackets and start educating them. That's what you wear. I mean, the best way I say it is that if you guys from Washington State come in Stanley Park and people are rollerblading around, the way I say is people are rollerblading with more body armor than motorcycle riders. Or you go to Whistler, British Columbia, the mountain bikers wear more body armor, and we're riding bikes.
Yeah, exactly.
So, with a little common sense like that, and a little sense of humor, I think these students actually get it. And they actually think, riding gear can work, it can be functional, and can be stylish.
Yeah.
And we're sponsored by Shoei as well, so they give us all the helmets.
So they get to wear a Shoei helmet, a Joe Rocket. You get them in the stuff. You get them feeling it's. A lot of people are so terrified that they won't be able to see out of a full face helmet, and you dispel that immediately in training.
Exactly, I mean, especially with the visibility of the perfect vision of the perfect view from Shoei helmets. I mean, they offer great views. And another thing with Shoei helmets, which we're really glad to be hooking up with these sponsors, is that we're not going to give them a $100 helmet or $80 helmet, and us personally would never wear that helmet.
Yeah.
So when they see instructors with our pictures in our classrooms, like we race with Shoei's, down at the Ridge or down at the Pacific Raceway, it tells a little bit of something about it that, hey, we wear them, you should wear these ones too. It's something we believe in. We believe in these products, right? And my partner, a lot of the reason why a lot of people travel quite a distance from Whistler, north of Vancouver, all the way to see us, or even we had a few people from Bellingham come up to see us who's had a motorcycle license already, is our background. My partner is Mark. He's, like I said, he has 8-time championships, and it has nothing to do with racing. Very similar to the way I explained to them, people who ride cruisers, why is it important for you to have instructors with such high level of training? If I was to get into I'm not going to get into fighting in the ring or anything like that, but if I was to take a self-defense course, I still rather learn from George St. Pierre. I'm not going to enter the UFC ring, but I still rather learn from George St. Pierre. Or if something about traction, if the bike goes sideways, I have no qualms about asking Mike Sullivan, right? Hey, Mike, if my bike goes sideways, what should I do? Should I breathe out? How's my body react? So that's where it's what we call lateral transfer of learning. Learn from other fields, right?
Yep.
And background-wise, teaching, I'm a graduate from McGill University, which is, I hate to say it, what Canadians call the Harvard of Canada. I'm a graduate from the Faculty of Education, so I'm a teacher. So the way we design this course is very specific into how adults learn.
And we're looking here at a slide of outside parking lot class being taught in the rain, and everybody's outfitted in rain gear. I love it.
So yeah, we ride in Vancouver, so we provide all the rain gear, and a big part of this, our learning process, is to adapt our teaching style to the way they learn, and to what they are interested in, not necessarily what we're interested in.
Yeah.
And the most important thing, a big model for us is, and even when we demonstrate, and I think it's a big fault of beginner instructors, is that they try to show the students what they can do. I say, no, we need to show them what they should look like, not what we can do on a bike.
Right.
That's the most important part.
Yeah.
Be humble about that out there. And so there we go. We go 8 hours in classroom, then we do 10 hours in the parking lot. So we start from actually pushing the bike, somebody who's never seen it, get in the right, proper riding position, push them off, clutch use, throttle use, shifting gears, turning, push steering, vision. And then what we start doing is, once they start getting comfortable, we work with them, and they say to us, okay, bump to the next level. So what we'll actually do is get on the back seat. We'll go through the exercises with us on the back seat. The reason why for that is real bikes weigh a little bit more, and what we're trying to do is get them as close as possible to the real thing, meaning the biggest complaint is people finish the school and they go to a dealership and get on these bigger bikes, and oh my God, the school bikes don't weigh anything like this.
So you're saying the instructor gets on the back seat?
Oh yeah. So we get on the back.
That's a scary idea.
So we get on the back of the bike after they reach a certain competence level, and we actually act like a dumbbell and trying to increase the weight of the bike, right? And it builds confidence that when they transition to the bigger bikes like the Vulcan 650s on the road, it's an easier transition.
Yeah. I
So that's what we do, and we do a lot of, for example, they go through slaloms, we'll push them on their shoulders, a little nudge, to simulate crosswinds.
You know, they got a rock strap booth right down the way here. You could just get a couple 55-gallon drums and strap them on the back of the bike, and then you'd save yourself the road rash, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's an idea too. That's an idea. But don't forget, the instructors are in full body armor teaching too, and. So we have a test in a parking lot here. So when the students first come, they get a learner's permit, which allows them to learn how to ride a bike on the road. And once you get the learner's permit, they still have to be supervised by somebody with a full motorcycle license, which in British Columbia we call a Class 6. And we do the parking lot tests with them. It's called the motorcycle skills test. And what that does is you go through a slow speed ride, you do a U-turn box, slalom, acceleration, shifting, and emergency stop, or sudden stop we call it, and that removed their supervision restriction, so they can start riding alone and can ride over 60 kilometers an hour, or what we say highway speeds here, but they still can't take passengers. So that will come after the road ride. So we'll book them our road test at the DMV, and DMV comes to our location and they test them for the final road test.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. When you get done with the course, it's the people from the department that come and do the final testing?
Yes, the final testing. So you're correct. So the parking lot test just removes the restriction to, so they can start riding unsupervised. That's done with us. Or you could do it with the branch, or the DMV or us, but it's easier just going through us.
I kind of like the way we do it, where our contractors can administer the final testing too. It saves us that extra hassle of having someone come in from outside and do the final testing.
I agree. I totally agree, because about 15 years ago, we were doing the road test ourselves. So what happened is the road test was originally only 10 minutes long, like literally going around the block and coming back. So they switched it to a 45-minute road test, which is what they call an observation test, about looking around, hazard perception, all that stuff. So what happened is when they offered the two main schools in the Lower Mainland here, it was myself and another one, to do the road test ourselves, but the road test would have to be mandatory 45 minutes road test with a 15 minutes debriefing with the student. So we as an industry decided that, you know what, that's too much manpower. So to do 5 road tests in a day, that's 5 hours. So we said, you know what, we're just going to hand it off back to the DMV.
Yeah, okay,
so it was just a logistic nightmare for us to be doing. And with the amount of students we go through a year, we go through almost close to 950 students a year.
Okay, good.
So that's why, if you think about manpower-wise, it's just not feasible for us to do tests. So we just, hand it to the what we call ICBC here and do it, and they're pretty competent in that.
Cool. Well, you know what? At this point, I'm gonna say if anybody wants more information, they need to go to your Pacific Riding School website, and we always encourage our readers to get some training every other year, no matter what. And so here's another way to mix it up. You could come up to Canada for a few days and do the training up here and see what they're doing that we're not teaching down there.
Yeah, I love for our Washington riders come up and, like I said, and do some road training with us if you don't have any road training. And you guys are blessed down there down in the States with so many tracks, with the ridge especially. Yeah. So I'm pretty envious. Well, thank you for having me on there.
All right. Thanks a lot, Dat Louie. Once again, it's Pacific Riding Schools at pacificridingschool.com.
Yeah, pacificridingschool.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much, sir.